Hey, everyone. Have you ever wondered if giants roamed the earth in the days before the Great Flood? Maybe you've seen pictures of huge footprints embedded in stone that are supposedly millions of years old. Or maybe you've heard tales of gigantic skeletons found buried deep within the earth, only to have them covered up by the mainstream. Well, today we're going to talk about some fascinating discoveries of giant human bones from various cultures all around the world, and what they say about the history of our species. But first, let's look at the stories of people who lived alongside giants. In the Old Testament, we read about the Nephilim, a race of giants whose fathers were the sons of God and whose mothers were the daughters of men. These giants were said to be so large that when they went out into the world, their size alone inspired terror. Then there are the stories of ogres and trolls from European folklore, as well as the terrifying giants from Greek mythology like the Cyclops, the one-eyed giant Alkonos, or the many-headed Lernaean Hydra. But could these stories be based on reality? Could there really have been giants among us in the distant past? Well, let's take a look at what the bones have to say. We'll start with the 19th Station Cave in China, where archaeologists recently unearthed the fossilized bones of a young girl who lived 14,000 years ago. After studying the bones, scientists determined that she was around 5 feet tall, which might not sound particularly remarkable until you realize that the average female back then was only 4 feet, 3 inches. The scientists believed this girl could have been anywhere from 16 to 18 years old when she died, meaning she likely would have grown even taller had she lived. Another intriguing discovery was made in 1997 near the town of Villanosa de Misquia in Spain. Here, researchers uncovered the remains of a man who stood over 6 feet 9 inches tall. He was almost a foot taller than the average man of his time and was likely the tallest person who ever lived, at least until recently. You see, this man lived 8,000 years ago, but the jawbone he lost in a fight was perfectly suited for reconstructing his face. So scientists were able to determine exactly what he looked like. They found that he had a large forehead, strong, square jaw, and tall, slender neck, along with other masculine features that distinguished him from the females of his species. But how could someone be so tall 8,000 years ago? How does this fit into our current understanding of human evolution? Well, it turns out that during the last ice age, people were generally much taller than they are today. This is because our bodies grow and develop differently depending on the environment we live in. During the ice age, people had access to more protein and other nutrients that promote growth, and they also didn't suffer from the same diseases that plague us today, such as vitamin D deficiency, which can cause stunted growth. However, even after the ice age ended, humans continued to grow taller. For example, the average male in England stood just under 5 feet tall in 1870, but today, the average height is closer to 5 feet 9 inches. And the average female in England was just over 5 feet tall in 1870, but today is closer to 5 feet 3 inches. Another fascinating story comes from the Natuashan Island in Canada, where archaeologists discovered the fossilized bones of a gigantic creature that stood between 7 and 8 feet tall. It had a massive skull with a pronounced brow ridge and sharp cheekbones, much like a humanoid ape. Scientists believe this creature was an ancient relative of ours from the genus Homo, but it's unclear which species it belongs to. Some say it could be Homo erectus, while others believe it may be a previously unknown species altogether. And finally, we come to the many reports of giant bones being discovered in ancient tombs and burial sites. For example, in 2009, archaeologists in Israel unearthed a skeleton that was nearly 7 feet tall. It belonged to a member of the Canaanite culture who lived around 4,000 years ago. The Canaanites were a group of people who lived in ancient Mesopotamia and are believed to be the ancestors of the Israelites. But this particular Canaanite was clearly an anomaly. His bones were thicker and heavier than average, indicating that he was a giant among giants. So what do you think? Is there any truth to the stories of giants among us? Or are all these discoveries simply the result of genetic mutations or misinterpretations of the evidence? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Also, Don't forget to subscribe and leave a like for more videos like this. Thanks for watching. See you next time.